Hi, now welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be having a look at helmets. Okay, now those of you that know me and have read my articles, seen any of my videos before, will know that I'm pretty much a staunch Shoei head. Okay, I've been wearing these since I was about 13-14 years old and I've had many of them over the years. So that's now coming up for just over 30 years since I've been on the road, since I turned 16. And probably out of all the helmets I've had about 6 or 7 Shoeis at least. My most recent one, as you know from my recent reviews, is this NXR2. Anyway, it's quite a touchy subject when you talk about helmets. People have their favourite brands that fit their heads, or they've got a particular go-to, because I don't know, a favourite rider or whatever reason is. But you've got to have been living under a rock for the last couple of years if you haven't come across the Ruroc brand. Now, Ruroc were formed in, I think it was 2010 in Gloucestershire. Started off making ski helmets, snowboard helmets, etc., and they've branched off into motorcycling. Now, I know this is maybe a little bit ironic, seeing as I'm doing a YouTube video about it, but they seem to be quite lauded and all over social media, with various different 25-year-old influencers all saying how great things are, because they're basically getting free bits and pieces. I'm not like that, but I'm also very aware that they've had their detractors over the years, from various different models, that they have, I don't know, they had issues with build quality, or they've had issues with fit, or even safety. Now, that was when they started with the Atlas 1. We're now moved on to the Atlas 4, so they've evolved over the years. And I'm not a person to want to write a company off just because they've had a few crappy reviews from people who are saying it's all a bit of hype. I wanted to find out for myself. So I've been pondering this, and obviously Ruroc have got hold of my pondering and heard about my thoughts, and lo and behold, I got sent this, which is the Street 4, Atlas 4 Street, which is their entry-level road-going helmet, and their Atlas 4 Carbon, which is yet again road-going based helmet. What we'll do is we'll have a little bit of a closer look at them, and we'll go from there. Let's start off with the Street. Okay, this is a new for 2024 lid. It's just come out recently, and it's being billed as their entry-level helmet from Ruroc. Okay, they state it's taking things back to essentials without compromise on safety or design. As you can see, the Ruroc are quite striking on their design, to say the least. And in my mind, there's a little bit of a nod to the older Simpson Bandits, etc., of the late 80s and early 90s. Except this is designed actually as a motorcycle helmet rather than the Simpson, which was designed as a car racing helmet and didn't have any real kind of protection at the front. Now, the price for the Street 4 starts at £229 for plain colours, up to £259 for a paint job. So, for example, here you've got the Diablo, or you've got Eagle colour scheme. Diablo is, as you can see, it's a kind of a fiery red, maybe kind of demon teeth, etc. paint job, and to be fair, it's nicely finished, and it's on a matte finished shell. Sizes have been previously a bit of an issue for Ruroc, as in having one size making it a bit of a bauble head, and then the padding within making it larger or smaller. Now they've introduced different size shells, and the sizes come from small, medium, up to extra large, extra large, etc. So my Shoei is about a 57 or a medium. So I've actually plumped. I've found that the medium to large Ruroc is about the fit for me. This, I would say, is as I say, it's a street helmet, and it is aiming itself purely at that end of the market. It's not pretending to be a racing lid, it's not pretending to be anything it's not. So I'd say it's probably taking direct aim at helmets such as the NXR2 and the Arai Quantic, etc., or maybe the Shark Spartan, all similarly priced helmets. Now, what you don't get with this is you don't get the carbon fibre shell of the Atlas 4 Carbon. You've got a fiberglass shell. Weight-wise, it tips the scales at 1,618 grams. In the medium and large on my kitchen scales, they're claiming 1,550 for the small medium, so that makes sense. My Shoei tips the scales at 1,417. So there's not much in it, and to be fair, if you're going to split hairs over that, that's a real kind of Princess and Pea kind of aspect, really. You don't really notice that tiny bit extra weight when it's on your head. Looking on the inside, I'll take some photographs inside in a bit so you can actually see inside. But it's quite a plush liner. That the padding is all well fitted. It's all removable, cheek pads, and the headliner removable for either changing or washing when it gets a bit minging. So that's quite a nice touch. And the strap is a good old-fashioned DD ring strap. So I quite like that. I like for security knowing that the DD straps are there. You've done them up. Ventilation is taken care of by switch on the top here. If you can just see that. It's a little bit fiddly with gloves on, but you do get the hang of it. And there's the vents on the front here. Only issue I find with that is the switch, although well made and positive, is on the inside of the chin bar. And when you've got a chin skirt, it does make it a pain to get to when you're actually riding. Yeah, you've also got these two little exhaust ports, these little ports here on the side here, just underneath the visor mechanism, underneath your ear, for airflow through there, on both sides. Now, that does make the helmet a little bit louder because you can't shut these off. And on the back, you've got an exhaust port out the back here, a stabiliser point and an exhaust port on the back here. That said, when I'm actually riding, I didn't really notice the airflow coming through too much. Might just be me and having to get used to it, or me just being a bit of a prat, but it wasn't overly noticeable coming through. But it's an airy helmet anyway. You're getting quite a bit of airflow through there anyhow, so it doesn't get particularly hot or particularly uncomfortable. One thing I will say that's really good is the visor here. It's quite a different visor, as you can see, but it's quite a positive visor. It sticks in most positions quite nicely. It's quite a firm position, and the field of vision for it is really actually pretty good. I'd say it's a lot better field of vision out of this helmet than a lot of others out there on the market. Changing the visor, it's simple. You undo these little bits here on each side, take them off, pop the visor off and change it around. I'm not going to lie, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but after a while you do get the hang of it and it's not too bad. The street version of the helmet here, it doesn't come with any of the extras. Now, usually with Ruroc you'll get a dark visor as well as a plain visor with it. But to keep the costs down, I'm guessing they're just providing it with a clear visor. Things like pin lock and clear visor are optional extras, unless of course there's deals that are running on the website. So yeah, that is pretty much the street. You've got the emergency tabs just here for removing cheek padding if should worse happen, and I know that's pretty much par of course for a lot of helmets now that they all have that. But to be fair, I quite like knowing it's there and they're easy enough to pull out. I would say the design paint job, although it is good, not quite my cup of tea. I do like something a little bit more, maybe, I don't want to say plain, but a little bit more traditional, let's just say. This is maybe a little bit more of your stunt rider, street fighter kind of ilk, let's just say. But what is there is it is well finished, so I would go with that. So I'd say, as far as this goes, I would say the street out of 10, I'd probably give it a 7. As far as sharp ratings go, I don't know the sharp rating for the street. They've got the sharp rating for the carbon, we'll come to that in a bit. But for the street, I don't know what the sharp rating is. It is ECE 2206 rated. It exceeds that certification, which is the minimum certification for any helmets out there now, and it does exceed that. But sharp rating, no, I don't know on that one. I do know the carbon has gone through. You will also notice there is no gold stamp on the back. There is no ACU gold stamp. I did ask Ruroc about this, and to be fair, their answer was quite simple. They weren't designing this particular model to be a track helmet for track days or racing. That's why they've got the Atlas 4 Track. Well, it makes sense, which is ACU approved, so you can take that on track days and racing. This is designed as a street helmet, so I mean, unless you are going to go on track, I don't see that as being particularly a deal breaker. I know a lot of the other helmets out there, for example, the NXR2, the Quantic, etc. Yes, they are street helmets, and yes, they are ACU Gold approved, so you don't have to faff about buying 2 helmets. But if you're not going to do track days, well, what's the problem, I say? Yeah, it's not really too much of an issue, really. So let's move on, and we'll have a look at the carbon. Okay, so now we're looking at the carbon. This is the Atlas 4 carbon. Looks exactly the same as the street, really, as far as the shape and the layout of the helmet on the front of it, but it's a completely carbon fibre shell. Funnily enough, I just bunged it with my kitchen scales, and it does come out slightly heavier than the street, the fiberglass street. It weighs 1686. Yet again, not much difference in it. But there are quite a few noticeable differences between the helmet when you start looking at the line of it. The carbon range starts from £375 and goes up to £475. And as I say, whilst the DNA is shared with the street of the helmet, there are a number of differences. First off, the shell itself is a T300 carbon fibre weave. And I've been provided with raw carbon. Now, I don't know if you can see it if I hold it a bit closer. I'll try and capture it in some photographs, but it's a matte lacquered finish as opposed to gloss. You can get a glossy one, which I'll be honest, I probably would prefer. But the weave is nice. It's nicely laid carbon fibre, and the shell does feel good. There are a choice of other colour options as well, which I quite like. But to be fair, they've got those kind of wild and out there paint schemes, and also just something that's just a little bit more played. The carbon, I think, is quite nice and understated, and I think quite classy. Now, you do get some extra bits with the carbon. For example, you get the dark visor as well as a clear visor. Yet again, things like pin lock are extra. The cheek pads are, again, they are plush, they are comfy. They're multi-density, removable. Complete liner comes out to be washed as before, but there are some differences on the inside. For example, the street, where it's got its normal kind of linering and shock protection, EPS, etc. The carbon also comes with what is a Rheon, what's called Rheon lining. Now, Rheon is what's the best way of describing it? It's a reactive polymer that reduces rotation and impact forces in the event of an accident on your head. It's all a bit space age, and I'm not going to try and explain it here. I'm not a science nerd, but I've watched the videos from the Rheon factories, and it's quite an impressive piece of kit, and it's quite impressive that Ruroc have managed to be one of the first manufacturers to actually use that in their helmets, which I think is a pretty good selling point. Now, if you look on the inside here, I don't know if you can see the lining, but it does say inside that it's lined with Rheon, and that, I think, is a major selling point for this. A fly in the ointment of the carbon, I first thought, was the strap retention system that they use in it. It's this fidlock, and the thing with fidlock is it's obviously not the D-ring. It's basically 2 parts that clip together here with a super strong magnet. I'll try and show you. Look here, can you see? And one bit over there, and that locks on. That ain't coming undone. That is not coming undone. Now, To undo it, you pull the tab and pull it off, and it comes straight away. But once it's done up, if you're trying to pull it away any other way, it's not going to come. It's not going to come undone. Look, that. But pull that, and away it comes. I was worried at first about whether the fidlock would come undone riding, if it caught on the jacket or anything like that, and it hasn't. It's a bit of a, I suppose it's a bit of a concern that isn't really a concern. It is strong. The only thing I would say is sometimes with a strap, you have to tighten it up and loosen it, tighten it up, loosen it, tighten it up. Whereas with a D-ring, you do it up and you know you've done it up. It's a bit of a faff, but once you've got the hang of it, it is actually pretty easy. The only thing is obviously there is absolutely no way that will be allowed out onto track. It is secure, it's passed all the tests, and there's even videos that have been made of the helmets being attached to chains and then holding the weight of the motorcycle off the ground with a strap, and also strapping the helmet onto the back of a chain and driving around town, dragging it behind the van, and it's still not coming undone. The helmet's bouncing all over the place. And I'd say that's actually pretty good. It's horses for courses though. Do you trust it? Do you not trust it? I've used it now for a couple of 100 miles backwards and forwards to work and out for a few daily rides, and I've not had an issue. I've not had it come undone accidentally, and I think it's probably more a fear of change than anything else. It's kind of, I'm very much of the mind of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, that's development for you. We'd never get anywhere if we didn't if we didn't try and change things around a little bit. But yeah, the straight, I would say it's a good helmet, and the carbon, yet again, it's a good helmet. I'd say negative points. I've had absolutely no concerns about the build quality. There have been concerns about the build quality of the helmets and EPS not being properly lined up and bits not being properly flush. I've not had any. I've not noticed on either of these two helmets. They are actually pretty well put together. I took them down to see Tony Roseman down at Cycle Sprays in Cowfold, who's the man responsible for doing the paint job on my Shoei. I mean, he earns his living dismantling crash helmets and painting them. So I went down there with, well, it was with a street. We took it apart, and he absolutely had no complaints about how that helmet was put together. So if he thinks it's good and he sees them all the time, then I don't really perceive that as an issue. Now, getting back onto the safety aspect, the Atlas 4 Carbon has been Sharp tested, and I spoke to a couple of guys at the London show from Sharp, and they were really impressed with it. They gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I'll try and do something separate on Sharp. It's an independent government test on helmets, on safety in helmets, where you test helmets to destruction, on impact, on various different parts, on side, back, front, all over the place, on various different curbs, anvils, all different kind of angles and all different sorts of speeds and forces. And they give it 4 out of 5 stars, which is not to be sneezed at. And that's up there with the Shoeis, with the Arais. So anyone saying that they're not safe, I say, well, if they're getting the same test and they're taking part in the same impact test, it can't be that bad, can it? It really can't be that bad. So, in a nutshell, I say with Ruroc, they really are actually not as bad as people think they are. They're worth a look. If you're in the market for a street helmet, you could do a hell of a lot worse than the street carbon, the Atlas 4 Carbon. Hell of a lot worse. Price-wise, people saying they're overpriced, yada yada yada. Are they? Or are they about the same price as the competition? Yes, the competition may be better established and have been around for years, and yes, you might see the other brands on the heads of MotoGP and World Superbike riders, etc. But when people use that as an argument as to why they'll buy a helmet or not, it doesn't really wash that much, because riders in the racing world, they change their helmets season on season sometimes, and it's about pay. They're not wearing that helmet because of they're buying it. They're being paid to wear it. They're sponsored by that helmet company. And yes, there might be a bit of personal preference, like I will always tend to gravitate towards my Shoei. But I'm not being paid to wear it. I'm spending my own money to wear it. People like Marquez and, I don't know, Pedrosa and Quattararo, they're getting paid to wear the helmets they're wearing. The same goes in World Superbikes, British Superbikes, etc. That's part of the sponsorship deal. They're provided helmets. Yes, these helmets are made in China. The production, development and design is all done here in the UK, in Gloucestershire. And production, yep, as with many things, is in China. But Ruroc have quite a close control over that, over how things are done and the processes that are used. So I've got no concerns about the build. And I also had a word with Taylor Mackenzie, who was responsible for the development of the track helmet, the Atlas 4 track, which is an incarnation of the Atlas 4, but it's evolved further, and I'll probably do something on that at a later point. And I asked him what he honestly thought, and I know he's paid or he's a supported rider. However, like me, he's had his head in Shoei for years, and as a racer, he's not going to put his head in any old crap. And I asked him, look, what are they honestly like? And he got back to me and he said, look, yes, I am supported by them, but they are good helmets. They're a young, enthusiastic company that want to learn, they want to keep improving, they make steps to improve with every model that comes out. I say give them a chance. There's nothing wrong there. Everyone has to start from somewhere. And I'd say, on a rating, I'd give the, here we go, the Street, the fiberglass Street, maybe I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Just as a pure fact, it's just that bit more basic. Value-wise, you can't knock it. If you got a playing card for 229 quid, that's actually pretty good. 259 quid for a paint job as well isn't to be sneezed at. But it's right slap bang in the price range of its immediate rivals. Maybe 7 out of 10 on that one, just mainly for the fact it's not got the re-on. You don't get the extra visor and bits and pieces like that. The carbon, the Atlas 4 carbon, I'm going to go with a solid 8 out of 10 for this. Yes, it's not perfect, but it is good. And to be fair, I'll probably use this as a helmet, depending on what kind of bike I'm riding. But I will actually use this helmet and keep using it. I honestly think they're not doing a bad job at all. So don't listen to the haters. Don't be taken on by all the influencers and stuff. I mean, yes, it's nice that they come in a flashy box with all pictures and all that bollocks. That's fine. Don't get taken in by all that. I mean, for God's sake, Shoei and Arrow have been using the same helmet design boxes, helmet box designs for at least, I've got to say, at least 35 years. I remember my dad getting a Shoei GRV in 1988 that came in exactly the same looking box as my NXR2 came in. So don't worry about that. It's what's in the box that matters. I mean, it could come in blooming a plain brown box with blooming unicorns on it for all I care. But what's in the box is what counts, and they're actually pretty good. Check them out and go and have a look. Obviously, I've put a couple of rider videos on here too, so you get a bit of an idea of what they're like. Because at speed, as I said in the ride videos, they're actually pretty stable. Not too much turbulence, and the airflow through the helmet is good. So yeah, have a look. I recommend you have a look. Obviously, both helmets are as well Shockwave compatible. I forgot to mention that, Shockwave compatible. Shockwave is a Bluetooth communications device that literally goes in the back of the helmet here. Just this little bit comes off here and it clips in. Headphones go in each side here and the microphone clips in the front. I'll do a separate bit on that at a later point. I have deliberately not put that in yet, although I have got one because I wanted to experience the helmets without any distraction of sound coming through like music or anything, because I never ride with music. So I wanted to actually hear what they were like. But I will put that in soon and we'll have a look, see how that comes out. But as I say, yeah, have a look. Enough waffling from me for now. As I say, don't be taken on by all the kind of, oh, this is great, or no, this is bollocks. It's not. Make your own decision. Go and have a look. I kept an open mind when I had a look at these. And I've got to admit, when I first looked at them, when I first heard about it, I went in with a bit of a downer kind of on the opinions, that thinking, it's going to be crap. It's not. It's not at all. I actually do quite like these helmets, and I think Ruroc are doing a good job and evolving with each model that comes out. So don't write them off. have a look, make your own mind up, and let me know what you think. Cheers. Take care.